This episode of Her Money Moves is presented by Cricket, celebrating Latina entrepreneurs. Hey, Money Movers! We're sitting down with Emelyn Stuart, an incredible entrepreneur and the visionary founder of Stuart Cinema Cafe in Brooklyn, New York. Emelyn didn't just create a space for independent film. She built a platform where artists are empowered to see and claim the value of their work. Today, we'll explore how artists can shift their mindset from starving to thriving, turning creative passion into real financial freedom. If you're an artist or creator, Emelyn's insights will transform the way that you look at your own value. So excited that you're here on the show, La Dominicana.
Ya tú
de
sabes.
Nueva York. And you were born in Brooklyn.
Yes.
So I'm just fascinated. How do you go from Wall Street, which already is, wow, what a huge accomplishment, to then establishing your own cinema bearing your name in Brooklyn, like your home borough?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. Long story short, I took risks. I believed in myself. I was working and somebody gave me a script to read. It was a filmmaker who wanted to tell a story and nobody would believe in him. No one would fund it. And so I read it. I thought it was funny. And I said, I could help this guy. And so I funded the whole thing, had no idea what I was doing. And it won awards once we finished this short film. And everybody was telling me, don't do it. You're going to lose all your money. You don't know anything about the industry. And I went ahead and did it. And it won a whole bunch of awards. And then I was like, wait a minute. If I could figure out how to make money, I could do this for a lot of people. And that started my love for the arts. So really, I'm a businesswoman who loves the arts. And then I established a film festival. And then that led to the movie theater. So it's been just, if somebody said to me, did you know you would be doing this? I had no idea. It was opportunity meets preparation.
And going for your dream.
Yes.
You've mentioned that artists often struggle to make a living from their talent. We know that. How do you empower artists to see their work as financially valuable?
That's one of the things that was really, I didn't really understand about artists, that you could be the best at what you do, have a master's degree in filmmaking and not be able to pay your rent.
Mm-hmm.
To be in debt $100,000 in tuition and not be able to eat. And to me, I was like, what an injustice that you could have this talent and not be able to live out that dream after you put in all this work to be the best. And I feel like this struggling artist situation, we've bought into it.
Yes.
But that doesn't have to be the reality.
No, and it shouldn't be.
Right. And so one of my goals eventually is to open a business school for artists, because we learn how to create, but we don't learn how to monetize that. And I think that's something that I bring to artists that's new, that's different. It's your work has financial value.
Yes. And, how many people grow up in families telling you, well, you need to go in this direction, not because you love it, but because you're going to make good money and you'll be able to, be secure, have a financially stable future, versus going for your dreams and loving what you do every day when you wake up because of that cliche of, you're just going to be a starving artist.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, it's not the time. It's the dream, but not the time. Had I tried to do this 20 years ago, I probably would not have been successful. So sometimes it's timing. Is it time? So I think it's the timing. I think it's having the talent. And then I think it's believing in yourself that you can do it. But I think when you get the vision and the time is right, you will know. You will know, because you will feel an unrest in your soul that is unbearable. You will feel a void because you're not really being true to yourself, and it's time.
Yeah.
I think there's a shift that happens. I also feel that you can do business and do good at the same time. I think in the corporate sector, we're taught that it's about money, it's about business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you don't have to be a nonprofit to do good. You can do good wherever you are, in whatever field you're in whatever time you're in. And I think there's such a divide. And so we're not helping people the way that we should.
Mm-hmm.
We're not reaching back the way that we should because we're so focused on succeeding. But sometimes success is all about helping someone else.
Yes, it is. I mean, what's the
Mhm.
point if you get all the way up there and then you're just alone?
It's lonely up
Yeah.
there, real lonely.
How do you teach or encourage artists to approach their work with a business mindset without sacrificing their creative integrity?
That's all about understanding the value of what you bring to the table. Because I think we're walking in the rooms and we think we have no value. So we're in there to ask and beg for opportunities, for money. But you have value and you're walking in there with value. And you're worth something and your work is worth something. And so once you start to think that way, that there is value, that you deserve to be compensated for your work in whatever way that is, I think once they understand that, then it changes from I'm creating art to I'm creating value.
And what is your advice for artists balancing that creative passion with the financial realities of building a sustainable career?
Start wherever you are with what you have. I started with a short film. Then I went on to do a web series, right? And my web series got picked up by BET. And so then I started making money. Then I did a feature. And so as I continued to create with what I had, whatever resources I could find, sometimes artists are waiting for $1 million check to tell that story. What if that check doesn't come? Then you'll never tell that story. Start with what you have and build from there.
And tell us about Stuart Cinema. I mean,
Stuart Cinema, my newest baby.
yes.
So I had done a feature. It was a faith-based feature, and I was really passionate about it. And I couldn't get theatrical distribution for it. The studios were like, there's no audience for this. And I'm like, well, how come you get to decide that there's no audience for my content? And I thought,
you're the only one in the world who watches this, who's interested in this topic.
And I thought, well, why? Why is it that he gets to decide?
Mm-hmm.
And I walked away thinking, how do we do this so I can decide what people watch? And somebody said, you got to build your own movie theater. And I was like, espérate, that's all I have to do? I had no idea what I was doing. I built the theater. I couldn't even get movies. I didn't even know how to reach the studios to ask them for movies. But I knew that I was building something that was needed. And in that process, I didn't even know I was the first till after I had built it.
Wow.
And somebody said, you're the first Black Latina to own a movie theater in New York. And I was like, in 2023, 2024? How is that even possible? How am I the first? So my job now is to make sure I'm not the last.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And tell us about the experience. What, makes Stuart Cinema unique from other theaters?
Yeah. So when I wanted to open a theater, I couldn't find one that was already built that I could afford. At the time, I think the only thing on the market was like the Sunshine Theater, and I couldn't afford it. And so I said, what can I build with what I have? How do I get a movie theater with limited funding? And then I couldn't get any loans.
Oh, yeah. We all know about that, especially when you're the first 2 or 3 years in business, they all say no.
Yeah. And so I put a business plan together and I couldn't get any money. And so I liquidated all of my assets, sold the houses, the cars, cashed in my 401k.
Wow.
And so I built this cash. And so I found a warehouse in Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
That is really investing in yourself
Yes,
and believing in yourself.
Yes, I really believed that this was something I needed to do. And again, it was, so I go to the bank to ask permission. And they didn't see the vision. When I wanted to get distribution for the film, I went to ask for permission and I couldn't get it. And so what I realized is I need to stop asking for
That's
permission.
right.
Right? I need to just use what I have and do what I can.
Yep.
And so I found this warehouse. It had, construction trucks parked in it. And so I built from scratch a one-screen theater. And then I thought, I don't eat popcorn. I don't eat hot dogs. So when I go to the movies, there's nothing for me to eat. And I thought, if I build a movie theater, I'm going to put empanadas and tres leche and cafecito and all the things I like to eat. And so that's what I did. And so I built it with that in mind, but also with multiple streams of revenue. That was important to me. Mm-hmm. So I put a stage in there so artists could perform in addition to showing movies, right? A cafe where people could come and get lunch. We have coquito year round. Why is it we can only have coquito on Christmas? To me, that never made sense. And so we have coquito year round, and it allows me to bring the culture to the neighborhood. And also for people to have a different experience when they come to the theater.
What aspects of your business do you think other venues, because obviously, you're doing something really special and unique here. Actually, I'm really curious with the streaming platforms that are going on, and a lot of the major film theaters are, really having a hard time to survive.
Yeah.
So, and how does that impact Stuart Cinema?
Well, one of the things that's different about Stuart Cinema is that we serve the community. We are a community movie theater. So we allow people to make suggestions about movies they'd like to watch. And we have community organizations that use the space. Avenues for Justice just had a big event. So we allow the community to really use the space. Birthday parties, adult birthday parties, not just kids. And so that allows us to really have our ear out in the community so we can hear what's going on. We know what's needed, right? We knew that kids were struggling. Parents were saying, my kids are stuck in their room. I'm concerned. I don't know who they're talking to. Mm-hmm. So we built a video gaming platform that kids now can come to the theater, bring their own controllers and hook up to the system. So now we've got the kids. People were saying, my mom doesn't leave the house. Now we have a program where Accessoride will pick them up and bring them to the theater. And for $10, they can watch movies.
Wow.
Right? And so we're here to serve. We just started a program where kids are going to be able to learn filmmaking after school. And so it's helping artists to make money, right? But also helping the community to grow and to learn about the
Emelyn,
arts.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And that really is what makes us different than the other movie theaters.
Wow. That is beautiful. That what you're pouring into the community and making.
And again, you can do good as a business and still be good.
Mm-hmm. I love hearing this. That's amazing. That's extraordinary.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what are your plans for the future? And do you still just have the one screen? Are you going to be expanding? How many seats? What's the capacity there?
Oh my gosh, next month we're opening up our next screen right next door because we've maxed out on our screen. So we'll be able to show 2 movies, host more events, have more educational programming for the community. And so that's our first expansion that's happening next month. We're also looking to build in Brownsville a 2-screen theater because they're building lots of affordable housing, but nowhere for people to go. Mm-hmm. And where are the kids going to go? And so we're doing that. And with regards to streaming and, movie theaters, they're killing us off every year, right? When DVDs happen, when VHS and streaming and COVID, movie theaters are dead. They're dead. We're still here. And those of us that are serving the community are thriving. And that really is the key. Is giving back to the community and being useful and sort of just being something that is needed in the community. Mm-hmm. I think that makes a difference.
So how do you see the role of community support in building both value and resilience for artists?
Wow. So without an audience, as an artist, you have no art. So that's important, right? And that's about connecting. But before you connect, I tell artists all the time, you have to know who your audience is. Who are you talking to, mm-hmm. right? Who is it that this message is for? Because not every message could be for everyone. That's why we have so many different channels, right? And so many different programs. So for the artists, they have to know who their audience is. Who are you talking to? That is just super important. I think we're creating, and there's, content overload right now with TikTok and, all the streaming services. So you really have to know, who is this message for?
How do you incorporate, your culture and heritage into the community and into Stuart Cinema and Ocktober Festival and everything that you do as a Latina entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I'm Dominican, and not like even half. My mom and dad are both Dominican. I was born here, but my parents still don't speak English. And so I think they have really made it a point to keep me connected to my culture. And so if you walk into Stuart Cinema, you'll hear bachata and merengue any day of the week.
I'm coming tonight.
Right? Yes. And so it's not just the food, right? But it's that feeling of where you walk in and you're like, okay, this is a Latino establishment.
I'm home.
Yeah.
I belong here.
Absolutely. And we're very welcoming, I think, which is important. But one of the things that has been a struggle for me is getting Latinos into the movie theater to watch movies.
Really?
And some of that is the challenge of not speaking English. So we actually are partnering with something called Theater Ears. And what that's going to allow our Latino community to do is to select the film on their phone, come to the movie theater, put in their headphones, and hear Wicked in Spanish. So they don't have to read the subtitles. They'll be able to enjoy the movie just like everyone else, except in their language. Because a lot of the new films are not done in Spanish. So it's very difficult to get that audience that doesn't speak English to the movies. And so we are working really hard to figure out how to make that experience amazing for them without disrupting the system the way that it is.
Wow.
And so being able to watch your favorite movies with your children who maybe do not speak Spanish, but you don't speak English, but you want to bring them to the theater, this will allow you to do that and really sort of get involved in movies.
I love that you are tapping into innovation to ensure that you reach everybody.
Yes.
Wow.
Then I still have a lot to do.
I think you've also been innovative in the way that you've been pricing, right?
Yeah.
The tickets and the films.
So we
Tell
have
us about that.
Yeah, we have a SNAP program. So right now, there are families that receive SNAP that'll be able to watch Wicked for $5. Because what is the point of a movie theater if people can't afford to come? If my own people cannot afford to come, then what am I doing?
Okay, Emelyn, can you please open up a stadium? Because nobody can afford to go to a football game or a baseball game anymore. Like the true fans, it's so corporate now.
We don't get those experiences growing up.
No, because the tickets are so expensive.
I didn't really go to a movie till I was like 14. One, because my parents didn't speak English, so they didn't see the point of going to the movies, right? And also because we couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And I don't want that for other kids. I want them to be able to go to the movies and have that experience. Our popcorn is like $3.
Well, I used to babysit my nephews all the time, and I would sneak them into the dollar theater. Okay.
I remember those days. And then
we'd be there all day watching 4 movies, me and my 3 nephews, and for $1, and sneaking in our candies.
And community, right? that just being able to watch a story on a big screen that you can connect to in your own language, it's an amazing experience. And I think we don't give it enough credit. And we don't really understand the importance of that till we're home alone on the couch all the time. It's not the same.
How does that pour over into your work with Latino and Latina filmmakers and artists?
Yeah. So another issue that we have that's a barrier is that we are not getting to the award shows because we don't have the money to qualify, because it requires theatrical runs. It requires marketing. We're able to help with that. you know? And I don't know if you remember layaway plans. Do you remember those back in the day, right?
Yes.
We had, for Christmas, your mom would put things on layaway and then she'd pick it up and so we do something similar for artists who don't have the money up front to do an Oscar run, right? We could work with you and maybe you pay a little at a time or maybe you do 3 days instead of 4 days. But the point is that is not the reason why you're not going to qualify for something that you work so hard and deserve, you know? The tables are there, but we can't get in the room, right? And so we need more people opening the doors and making it affordable and accessible.
I'm so impressed and blown away. Do you know, in the other room, we're having our on the list investors. I'm like, and I can't wait for all of them to hear about your story and what you're doing for artists the same way that we're trying to do for startups and Latino-led startups and businesses because of that same reason of not getting the funding. I mean, you have a genius idea. You're building this solution that's going to help improve lives. And yet, you know, once again, it's that barrier, that financial capital that often hinders us.
But you know, my mom makes the empanadas at the theater.
She does?
And she makes the coquito, right? But when did she think when she was making those empanadas and I was a kid, that one day she'd be making those same empanadas at a movie theater that I own, being the first Black Latina to own it, right? How did she know? She couldn't have guessed it in a million years, right? She was on New York One the other day talking about, you know, her experience. And one of the things that I have to say, you know, for the fact that my parents were immigrants and have worked so hard, that when I said to my mom, I want to open a movie theater, she never said why or how. She said when. ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo vamos a hacer eso? When are you going to do that?
Oh.
She never once said, what are you talking about? You don't know. Never. And I thank my parents for that. I will forever be grateful that all of the things I said, when I said I want to be a producer and make movies, she was like, okay, when do we get to see them? Never once had they said, but you don't know anything about making movies. What do you mean? You can't leave that good job that you work so hard to get? Mm-hmm. Not once. And sometimes as parents, I have 2 kids now who are in college. And anytime they say to me, I want to do this or I want to do that, I say, great. What do you need me to do? Right? Even if in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God. All this tuition and I don't. But to them, I make sure that they understand whatever it is, I got you. And as a community, that's what we need to do.
Yes, we do.
When you share an idea with me, I'm not supposed to say, you're Latina, how are you going to do that? I'm supposed to say, what do you need me to do to help you accomplish that? And if we all start doing that, imagine how much further along
we all would be.
We would all be.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh my goodness. That's beautiful that you're uplifting so many people and letting them know no opportunities are limitless. Don't put any doubts and limits on yourself.
I am being the change that I wanted to see.
So what is one thing that makes you smile about your business?
I would have to say when the filmmakers have their premieres and their screenings, because I know that they slept on the couch, they mortgaged their homes, right? I know that their kids are struggling, that they're struggling. And when they see that movie up on that big screen, it's a dream come true for them. And it just, I'm in the back of the room and I'm just smiling and just like, wow. Because that also was me when I was making movies, right? And I couldn't get distribution. And I would see my movie on TV or I would see my show on TV and I would say, wow, it's possible.
Yes. You did
and
that.
So for me, that makes me smile every time.
Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your extraordinary work.
Thank you for amplifying our voices. Thank you for that. And for giving us a platform.
Thank you for providing a platform for creators and for artists and for the community.
And what you're doing matters.
Thank you.
Every day.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
You too. I can't wait.
You.
I cannot wait to come and check it out.
Thank you.
And hopefully everybody, whenever you come to New York, Money Movers, you've got to come check out
Stuart Cinema Cafe. Come visit.
This episode of Her Money Moves was presented by Cricket, celebrating Latina entrepreneurs.